This is video 2 of a 7-part series meant for beginning homeschool parents who are needing a little guidance getting set up, not in months, but in 7 days. So every video will give you a quick win, morning task, an afternoon implementation, and then an evening reflection or planning section. When I finish the video, you will have received an action items checklist, resource links, quick tips for how to remove the overwhelm, and templates. If you want to make your own, absolutely. There are also different resources out there where you could go and check them out and see if they work for you. I know we are all individuals, and that's why we homeschool, right? Because we are unique and our children are unique, and we want to make sure that everything is according to our family's values and personality. So for your morning action, we're going to ask you to do a little bit of core curriculum research. So by core curriculum, what I mean by that is English, math, science, history, or social studies, whatever you want to call it. Those are the 4 things that you need to focus on. And if you get overwhelmed in your day, here's a little quick tip. Just focus on English and math, right? Because when you read a book about history, you just combine history with English. Maybe the book has some figures about how fast the locomotive was going, and there's a little bit of math in that. So especially in the early years, I wouldn't get too bogged down in separating the subjects. And, nobody used to do that before the 1800s. Nobody separated this from that. You just read books and you learned stuff, So, core curriculum research. Assess your child's learning style, right? So some of us are visual learners, some of us are auditory learners, some of us need to touch things in order to really learn. There are books out there that you can just grab, and my blog, homeschoolways.com, has over 1,000 blog posts about how to implement these things, and I give you books after books for different needs. There's a little search bar on the right side. Just go to homeschoolways.com and search for your term, like how to learn my child's learning style, and I'll provide you with, I'm sure I have several articles I've been writing on that blog since 2013. Right. So learning style, you want to know what their learning style is. Then interests, are they interested in art or music? Are they interested in horses or in jujitsu? Strengths and challenges. Some children do not read fast or early, right? Others start reading at 3, So what are their strengths? What are their challenges? And research curriculum options based on your child's needs. I know in my area, there's actually an umbrella school and a co-op that caters to children with learning differences, right? So if I had that issue, I knew exactly where to go. That wasn't, my issue. I was, going in different direction, and I looked for an umbrella that said, I want to test your children every year against all the kids in the nation. And I wanted that, right? I wanted high academics. I wanted a Christian setting. So that's where I want. That's what I went for. Now, the curriculum options are going to be traditional textbooks. If you grew up in the public school system, you know what I'm talking about. Even in Christian schools, they have these thick things called textbooks, right? Then you've got online programs. Are you one of those parents that is comfortable with your children being in front of a screen and just, interacting with other people? Sure, that's an option, online programs. Unit studies, not a big fan. I am not a big fan of unit studies, but so many people love them, and they have great curriculum out there. Classical education and Charlotte Mason, those are very similar. Charlotte Mason has a little bit more of arts and crafts and music and drawings. I guess drawing is part of arts, but classical education is a lot of reading, very little interaction with screens. That's a subject for another video. But what I'm trying to tell you is the curriculum comes in different shapes and sizes, and it's based on a different philosophy of education. So you, hopefully in the previous day, when you wrote down your why as a family, you also clarified the why comes from your values, right? So you know that you value this type of education and not that type of education. So hopefully you're ready for this. The quick win would be to request 2 or 3 curriculum samples. That's right. A lot of these curriculum providers will have something on their website, or they will say, hey, call this number or email us here, and then we will send you samples. So there you go. That's something you can do that morning. Like I said, morning, afternoon, evening, 30 minutes for each session. That should keep you going. In the afternoon, we will do something called subject integration. All right, what does that mean? Well, you're going to have your core subjects, math, language arts, science, and history, right? And then you will look for connections. Can I do history while I do literature, right? So for instance, if you were to read the Little House on the Prairie series, that's history, that's geography, and that's also literature. How about science and math? There are so many curricula out there where you can study this concept in math and then apply it in physics problems. The quick win is that you choose one unit that combines multiple subjects. For instance, we are using knot grass. It's not perfect. There's no perfect curriculum out there, right? So we're not 100% knot grass people, but we like it because we get history, Bible, and English out of it. So one curriculum, 3 credits for high school, right? So my kids are in high school and it's all about these credits. Now in the evening, the learning style implementation. What do I mean by that? You're going to list some activities for each style, right? So if you know that you're going to have a very visual learner, a very kinesthetic learner, or a very auditory learner, you might want to make some notations like, how do I teach them this concept? And I'll be honest with you, I did not do a whole lot of planning in that area. I just kind of relied on my instinct as a mother and as an educator. I went through school, I loved school, and I always found ways to sort of teach myself something if the teacher didn't get through to me. But some kids will need a little bit of extra help, right? So like a boy who's 7, who's just bouncing, right? You might want to get him one of those big bouncy balls and let him rehearse or repeat multiplication facts while he's jumping, right, on the ball. Just an idea. I've got a few other examples from my own experience, but I will tell you, it is very important for you as an educator and as a parent to understand your child, give them some grace, but also kind of challenge them, right? So, oh, I didn't hear that. Well, let's listen better, and encourage your child to strengthen those areas that seem to be weaknesses, because when they go out into the world, the teachers are not going to make amends for them. It depends on their age, obviously, and hopefully you're starting this in the beginning, but if you're starting in the middle, there are things you can do, obviously. You want to match your curriculum choices to their learning styles. You want to plan the assessment methods. And your quick win is that you would order or gather supplies for preferred learning style. So do your kids need a little bit of a kit with manipulatives, or do they need more paper so they can doodle while they listen to you telling them something? Do they need the big bouncy ball that I mentioned? Order that on Amazon right now. Okay, so here are some power tips for you. I promise by the end of the video that you will get some tips, you will get some templates and some links. So here we go. Start small. Now here's a tip. Start small. You can always add more later, right? You can always add. But most homeschoolers make this mistake. They buy too much curriculum, they buy too many manipulatives, they invest in too many programs. I know we had cards, annual membership cards for the zoo and the Science Museum for Children, which is in Knoxville. It's called the Muse. And we had annual memberships. There was an aquarium in Gatlinburg, there was a zoo in Knoxville, there was the Science Museum. I mean, and then we signed up for all the orchestra events for little children, in Knoxville. The Knoxville Symphony Orchestra had concerts for the very young children and then the next generation. I mean, it was just exhausting. We do too much. We're like small business owners. We buy so much. That's a story for another time. That's a concept for another time. But the point is, start small, right? You don't need a whole lot. Focus on fundamentals at first. Can your children read? If they cannot read, that's where you start. All you need is a couch and a library card and a car to take you to the library and bring you back. That's it. And you sit on that couch for 20 minutes a day at least, and you read to your children. And you let them read to you when the time comes. And then you go on the floor and you play with blocks with them, or you take them outside and they take on a bike ride, or they, whatever. It's very simple, and focus on the fundamentals. By the way, if they can bike without the training wheels, they've got the wiring in their brain for reading. So teaching a preschooler or a kindergartner to ride a bicycle without training wheels actually helps the brain with reading. Look that up if you don't believe me. Okay. The other thing is build in flexibility. Here's a power tip. Power tip number 3. Build in flexibility. I cannot stress this enough. Oh my goodness. I read a book, which I recommend to everybody. 50 Things We Wish We Had Known When We Started Homeschooling. There was this one family who went to see Mount Rushmore in an RV. And they took their homeschool books with them. And when they got there, by the time they got there, the kids had misbehaved. They were behind their assignments. And they turned around and went back home without looking at Mount Rushmore. Like they weren't even close enough. They said, that's it. We're 1 hour away. We're going back home. Seriously, I would not have done that. But I wasn't in the heat of the moment with them. And now looking back on it, the parents regretted it. They were like, nah, we should have given them some grace. We should have seen Mount Rushmore as a family. And then we could have applied other consequences. But the point is, be flexible. It's easier said than done because we're trying to set up a system and we're trying to make sure that the kids are not running the house. And then they ask for this, and now you got to put all your plans aside because, Junior asked for that. You be the judge of that. But in matters of reform and progress, I would err on the side of mercy and of the people. The little people err on the side of mercy and on their side in matters of planning, and their relationship is more important. This is something I learned when my kids were, transitioning into their teenage years. The puberty is rough for everybody. And I talked to a veteran homeschool mom. See, this is why I want to return this favor of just sharing information, just giving everything I know away for free, because other people have helped me, right? So this lady with lots of experience, super smart, she said to me, listen, the relationship is more important than your child's academic achievement. So if you're fighting a battle in this textbook with your child, whatever that battle is, just put it aside. Your relationship is more important than that. If you want your child to do this instrument and the child is just completely burnt out, just get him out of it. Just get him out of it. It just wasn't meant to be. Or maybe he'll pick it up later. Maybe he'll miss it and he'll pick it up later. But really always focus on the relationship, and which is why you need to build in this flexibility in your own mind, in your own system, in your own schedule. right? We don't want a rigid schedule. We don't want, like, the Prussians with their little bell, which has been adopted to all the school systems of the world. The little bell, the schedule, the schedule. You want some flexibility. And remember, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. I'm in year 12 of this marathon, okay? And I remember actually blogging at homeschoolways.com when we were in the middle, like my son was 7th grade and my daughter was 5th grade, and I was thinking, oh, we're in the middle. We're right in the middle. And I actually made a post about it saying, I want to remember this moment. And so 6 years later, here I am. My son is going to be a senior in high school next year. My daughter is a freshman in high school this year. She'll be a sophomore next year. So we're almost at the end. It's a marathon. Trust me, you will change so much. They will change so much. What happens today is not going to affect you for the rest of your homeschool career. Just give yourself grace, give yourself flexibility. And here's last but not least, build yourself some resources where you can refer to them and to remind yourself. Why not this playlist? Put it somewhere in your phone where you can just quickly go to it and review what you were supposed to do and organize yourself, and have something that you can rely on, that you can go back to and say, all right, I think I'm exaggerating a little bit. I'm a little bit too strict. I'm a little bit too rigid. I need to be more flexible. All right, that's it for today. This was video number 2 out of 7. I'll see you in the next one. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir.